Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be doing the Summerween tag, and I'm also going to be including my Summerween TBR in this video. Let's jump in to the questions. I'm going to be reading them off my phone, so please forgive me for that because some of these questions are super long, so I have to read them off. Usually I try to say the question without looking at my phone, but no, it's not going to happen. So the first question is, what spooky reads are you most excited about in your TBR list pile right now? Really, all the books that are on my TBR, but if I had to pick just one, I think it would have to be The Toymaker by Sergio Gomez. This is a book that I have been wanting to read for a while now. It is a chunker, but I've heard nothing but good things about it. I have almost all of Sergio Gomez's books, but I haven't read any of them, so I'm hoping to fix that. I do want to read this summer because I don't know that it gives me the summer vibes, but something about like a toy, an evil ghosty toy on the cover just screams summer horror to me for some reason. Question number 2 is, what's your favorite revenge novel? What did I pick for this? I would have to go with The Magpie Coffin by Willie E. Young. This is the first book in the splatter western. I've spoken about this a million times, but basically we follow Salem Covington as he learns that his mentor in life has been murdered and he is out to seek revenge for his mentor. And needless to say, things happen in this book. This is splatter horror, so it's a lot of gore and stuff, but I just think it was amazing. And Salem Covington as a character, I just love him. He gives me a lot of the gunslinger vibes of Roland. I fell in love with him, and this is just like the perfect revenge horror novel in my opinion. Number 3 is, what's a horror or thriller / crime book you wish you could experience for the first time? My answer for this is always and forever going to be It. This is just one of those books that I just want to experience for the first time over and over and over again. There's something special for me about this chunker of a book. I love coming of age stories. I love summer coming of age stories, and I think this is the perfect one. Are there questionable scenes in here? Is it too long? Maybe. I don't think it's too long. I enjoyed every second of it, even the weird scene that everybody talks about. I loved it. It's just one of my favorite King novels, and I just wish I could experience for the first time forever and ever and ever and ever. But alas, I cannot. Number 4, this is a long one, so sucks to suck. You were just given a handful of your least favorite candy, the one not even your siblings or friends will trade for. What candy is it, and what spooky book do you want to love that disappointed you? I would have to go with anything like Mike and Ike's like kind of candy. I know they're fruity and stuff, and I usually tend to like fruity candy, but there's just something, maybe the texture of them or maybe the box. I don't know what it is that I just don't like. And then there's another one. I don't know if these are Mike and Ike's, but I'll try to find the box, but the box is like purple and white. Maybe it's Mike and Ike's. But there's something about these candies I just do not like. And a book that really disappointed me, that would have to be The October Boys by Adam Millard. I wanted to love this one so much, especially because this is a coming of age horror novel. It takes place on Halloween night. It's a few friends, and one of them gets taken by the ice cream man. This had all the things for me to love it, but it just fell flat for me, and it was just a great disappointment, unfortunately. I thought this was gonna be a 5-star book, but it was not. Number 5, time to put on your costume. If you could exist in one spooky novel, which one would it be? Who would be your best friend? And I had a hard time picking this one. I don't know why, but I think I'm gonna have to go with Take Your Turn, Teddy. And although the things that I'm going to say will probably stop this from being the book that it is, I'm just gonna say it. I would have Teddy as my best friend because I would try to steer him away from making some of the decisions that he made that really messed him up for life. I've talked about this book a million times. This is by Haley Newland. She just sent me one of her prior books to review, and I'm so excited for it. But when I read this, I was super impressed with her writing and with her style. And yeah, I would best friend Teddy, even though he would be much younger than me in the novel. But I want to advise him not to let the monster in. But I love this one so much. Maybe not really what the question was going for, but that's just what came out of my heart when I saw that book. I just want to advise him. I want him to be my best friend so that he takes my advice and doesn't get in the end.
Not in the end of the story, that's not a spoiler, but I'm just saying that he doesn't mess up his life, ultimately.
Number 6, what's your favorite haunted house book and or television show? For this, I have 2 books because I just love these so much. You guys know, I've said this before, again, I do not like haunted house novels, but I do have 2 favorite ones. One is a series and the other one I just finished reading recently, and I believe it's in my May wrap up. The first one that I'm going to talk about, which is my favorite, it's the one that I initially fell in love with as a haunted house story, and it was a huge surprise for me, and that is The Nightmare Room by Chris Sorensen. This is a 3-book series, if I'm not mistaken. I have not read book 3 yet. It came out last year in May or June. I just have not read it yet. I've read book 1 and 2 and have loved each one of them in their own way. They are fantastic. We're following a haunted house in this first one. The second one is not so much a haunted house, but it takes place like in a hotel, even though some of the characters do interlap. But this takes place all in this house. They are moving. They've had some unforeseen circumstances in their life that have caused them to move back to a childhood home. It's a husband, a wife, and a little kid, if I'm not mistaken. But they go back to his childhood home, and he starts seeing things and remembering things from his childhood. It is fantastic. I loved it. Needless to say, I mean, it is my favorite haunted house novel. But I want to give an honorable mention to The Haunted by Bentley Little. This I just read last month and I loved it as well. I'm not going to talk too much about it. If you want to go check out my wrap up, what I say about this book. But again, another haunted house story involving a family moving into this home and the house being haunted. They both were phenomenal and I highly recommend them, especially if you like haunted house novels. And if you don't too, because obviously I don't like them and these just gripped me from beginning to end. Number 7 is the food question. You can only pick one from each. Would you rather A, chocolate or sour candy? Always sour candy. I'm not a huge chocolate lover. I have my favorite chocolate, 1 or 2, but outside of that, I'm not huge on chocolate. I never have been, but give me a good sour candy or a fruity candy and I will stuff them in my mouth by the handfuls. B, coffee or tea. I love them both. I always have a hard time choosing, but ultimately it would always be coffee, but I like them both. And C, apple or pumpkin pie. I want them both. I want apple pumpkin pie. I like them both. I can't choose one. But for the sake of the video, I'm going to choose apple because apple, fruits. I love fruits. Apple pie. Love it. Number 8. Show us your favorite book with a witch or a woman who gets screwed over by society and the patriarchy. I don't know. I wasn't sure about this question and I was gonna skip it, but I just found a book that every time I think about it, I get so mad at her friends and the husbands around this group that I'm gonna talk about it, and that's the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. Patricia was so left alone dealing with this whole situation that she was dealing with the vampire in this book that it just so upset me. And it really, really upset me that her husband didn't even have her back. I know that if in my situation, I know we all don't have the kind of relationship I have, and not that I have the best relationship because we are just normal man and wife, but if I were to ever tell my husband I was in a situation like this, like he would be the first one trying to find out and trying to kill or trying to protect me in any way, shape, or form that he can. And that the husband in this book did not back up Patricia and kept like belittling her just irked me. And even her friends did that to her. Everybody left this poor woman to fend for herself and protect this whole neighborhood. And that really, really upset me. So I'm gonna go with this one, even though I absolutely love this book and the ending to this I loved. Good for Patricia. But it was upsetting reading how they just let her down through the whole entire process. All right, number 9. Which book on your shelves or audiobook library has the scariest book cover? I feel silly showing this book now, but for a really long time prior to reading the book, because I have read it, I read it a couple years back already, but prior to reading this book, I would look at this cover and it would freak me out so much. Now, not so much because I didn't find the book to be very scary or even remotely scary for me. But there's just something about this cover that does it for me, and that's The Bird Eater by Anya Alborn. Like I said, this isn't like the scariest book to read, but for some reason this cover gets to me. And another one that I don't know if it's that I'm like scared of the cover so much or I find it beautiful and so dark, but it is Malignant Summer. I mean, these two just take the cake for me. There's some creepy covers. Number 10, it's Summerween and it's hot outside. I love it. I know many people don't love the heat, but I am loving how hot it is lately. It's summer. Hello. What books do you recommend that give off summer vibes? Think lakes, cabins, beaches, etc. What reminds you of summer? And you guys know, I've said it already in this video. I've said it before. Summer horror is my favorite. Summer is my favorite. I live, die, breathe for summer, for heat. I am just a summer girl. I do have a summer horror recommendations video that I did a couple years back. I'm trying to do a new one. We'll see if it happens. I'm not sure yet, but because I'm reading so many new summer horrors that I don't think I have enough material, but I do have a video already that I will link down below if you want to check out what my summer horror recs are. We're going to talk about 4 summer horror books. I think these are, I think 3 of these are in my summer horror recommendations video, but still go watch them because there's a lot more. But I'm going to start off with Summer of Night. Coming of age summer horror book I loved so much. This was one that really stuck with me when I first read it. I do have a Fright Friday dedicated to this book. It is like 4 years old, but this is a book that when I first read it, I was kind of disappointed in it, or not disappointed, it just wasn't my kind of book. But as the days, weeks, and years have passed, I have realized how much I love this. I want to reread it at some point. I know there has been some controversy behind Dan Simmons, but it is what it is. I love this book. It was fantastic. And if you have not read this and you like summer horror or want to experience that coming of age summer horror, I highly recommend this one. Another one that I recommend that I loved is Savages by Greg F. Gifune. I think that's how you pronounce the last name. This takes place all in an island. There's these group of people, they are on vacation, they're on a boat, and they get slammed with a thunderstorm or a storm, and they get washed up on this island, but there is something mysterious on this island, and it's trying to kill them off. It's fantastic, fantastic, fast-paced, action-packed. Another one that when I think about summer horror, I directly think about this book. It's one of my favorites. It's a slasher summer horror, and that is Kill River by Cameron Rubik. This is a horror novel that takes place in an abandoned, or not an abandoned water park. It's a brand new water park that hasn't opened to the public yet, and they come upon it. They're like in the woods. These, I don't know, it's like 3 or 4 kids. They're in the woods, teenagers, and they actually run away from summer camp. They think they're too old to be there, and they run into this empty water park. But there is a killer on the loose in this park, and shit hits the fan. And one of my favorites, this is another one that is part of a series. It's a 3-book series, and I have read the first 2 and have loved it. I'm hoping to read book 3 this summer. But this is a heart-pumping slasher summer horror novel. And then last but not least, this is not on that video that I did a couple years back, but it is one that I read last year when I went on vacation. On that little trip, I ended up reading Worst Laid Plans. This is an anthology of vacation horror. This has a bunch of vacations gone wrong in the worst way possible. This holds one of my favorite short stories for the summer, and that's Summers with Annie by Greg Sisco. It's fantastic, but I usually don't like to recommend short story collections. I'm not big on short story collections, but this one is worth it. Number 11, you and your friends are exploring a well-known haunted house. No, that will not be happening because I am a chicken shit. So I doubt that I would be in this position, but let's continue with the question. You get separated and suddenly you hear screams coming from somewhere upstairs. You run into the next room and find 2 of your friends. Which 2 fictional characters are they, and who do you want in this situation with you? First and foremost, I would have to go with Salem Covington, because I was to say Covington Salem. Salem Covington is badass. Like, I will feel safe with him, and I will probably be like behind him going through the whole house because, again, I'm a chicken shit. For the second one, I don't know. I don't know who the second one would be. You know what? I'm gonna go with Rose McFarlane from Whispers in the Dark because she's another badass. She is a Memphis SWAT sniper. And let me tell you, the stuff that she faces and the evil stuff that she faces in this book, yes, I want her and Salem Covington, and I will be safe. I know it for a fact. But again, I would not be going into a haunted house. Like, willingly? No, definitely not. No. Number 12. Trick or Treat, Stephen King, H.P. Lovecraft, Mary Shelley, and Shirley Jackson are out at your front door. Who do you give the biggest and best candy bar to? Stephen King. Hands down, he is my favorite out of all of them. H.P. Lovecraft, I'm not a huge fan of. Mary Shelley, I actually haven't read anything by her, I don't believe. And Shirley Jackson, I just don't think her books are for me. I've read 3 of them, and out of the 3, I have maybe liked They Have Always Lived in the Castle, but I usually don't tend to like Shirley Jackson's books. I know, don't come for me, but it's just, it doesn't work out. I don't vibe with her books. I wish I did. I want to like them. So hands down, Stephen King, he's my favorite. So he gets the best and biggest candy. I'm sorry. And the last and final question is, what is your favorite spooky book to movie adaptation where both of them are good? Lisey's Story by Stephen King. I haven't completed the adaptation yet on Apple TV because they're not out yet. I just watched the last one that came out on Friday, and I can't wait for this Friday for the new one. And I'm loving it. It's stayed true to the book for the most part. There are a couple of little changes, but other than that, it's pretty true to the book, and I'm loving the acting. I'm loving how suspenseful and dark it is. And another thing that I'm loving about it that I didn't think I was gonna like so much because it was something that I have trouble with within the book is the slow pacing of it. This is a very slow paced book up to a certain point. So like the first 150 pages, it's very, very slow paced. And I feel like they've translated that into the adaptation very well. I love them both. And I'm so glad that I do, because being that this is my favorite Stephen King book, if I didn't love the adaptation, I would have had a problem. But so far, I'm loving it. I really shouldn't have mentioned that one because the show really isn't over, so I don't know how it's going to play out, if it's gonna stick to the story, but up to now, it's been ace. All right, so those are all the questions for Summerween. Now let's get into my TBR. Okay, so there are 5 challenges, and 2 of them are things that I could do with the books from here. So the first 2 challenges aren't book specific prompts. So I haven't picked a book for these 2. I will just choose one of the 3 for the other prompts. But the first challenge is to bake or make a drink with your spooky read. I don't know what that would be yet. And it will be with one of these books again. The second one is read a book in the dark. Again, I could just pick one of these books and get the ebook and read it in the dark. So that's what I'm going to do. That's going to be one of these books as well. So the third one is read a paranormal book. For that, I'm going to be joining Deja in reading My Best Friend's Exorcism. She was talking about this one and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've had this one on my shelf forever. I'm going to read it with you. I'm really excited to finally be reading My Best Friend's Exorcism, and I think this is the ebook that I'm going to choose out of the 3 to read in the dark, because my friend Rain says that the ebooks have like amazing illustrations in it, as to where the print or physical copies do not have those illustrations. Challenge number 4 is read a horror book. They are all 3 horror, but for this I chose to go with Wormwood by Chad Lutzke and Tim Mayer. I've had this for a while. This is an ARC, and I also have the Nightworm special edition that we got, but I don't want to ruin that one and like touch that one because it's so pretty. So I'm gonna be reading this one, and it's a short one. Perfect for a readathon. And then the last and final question is read a book with black or orange on the cover, or both. I have 2 options for this. I don't know yet which one I'm gonna read. They're both short, so If I know myself, I'm probably gonna pick the one that's from my favorite author, but we'll see when the time gets here. But I'm in between In the Scrape by James Newman and Mark Steensland. I got this from Silver Shamrock Publishing. They sent it to me some time ago, and it's a short one as well. Then I also have the option of reading Gwendolyn Kiss, which is a favorite author for me. Bone Set and Feathers. I've had this on my shelves for a while now, and there's a bunch of orange, and then her name is in black. So I'm thinking I'm gonna choose this one, but we'll see. It's a short one as well. So I'm in between these two, and whatever I'm in the mood for at that time, I will read. And they're so short that I could even read them both. So that's it, you guys. That is everything for this video. Those are all the books I plan on reading for Summerween. Let me know if you will be participating and what you will be reading. I'm so excited. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.